Charlie from Daily Motor, and I'm here with Nathan, and we're out enjoying the 2020 Mercedes-AMG G63. This car is an absolute hoot, and at $183,000, it's not exactly a responsible car choice, but something like the G-Class has become such an icon, not only in the automotive world, but even just in pop culture. I mean, there are pop music songs that sing about the G-Wagon. There are, it's something that a lot of people, even outside of the car sphere, know about and recognize. It's very iconic. And it's become almost a caricature of itself. It's so much a status symbol that it's the only model, the G-Class itself is the only model that Mercedes sells more of the AMG version than they do of the standard truck, the G550. So, Nathan and I are going to just drive it around a little bit here. You're obviously not here to see a lot of general consumer advice, but we'll tell you how cool it is, how fun it is to drive, get some good exhaust clips, driving experience, and maybe talk about some of the reasons you might want to pick a different sort of vehicle. But at the end of the day, if you want a G-Wagon, you're gonna get a G-Wagon. So what's stuck out to you so far riding around in this car, Nathan?
Well, it's big, it's loud, it's red, and it's big.
It is big, isn't it? It feels, the way you sit in it.
You sit so high up, and yet you're ripping around those corners, and like that just doesn't click in your brain. Like you don't think about, all right, I'm this high up, yet I'm pulling like 0.5 G's right here. Mm-hmm. Like it doesn't make sense.
And you have the AMG seats that hug you in just nicely with the bolstering and everything.
And part of that makes it so much fun.
Right off the bat here, let's throw it back into Sport Plus, give ourselves a little launch. Do ESC Sport.
That noise it makes too, it just yells and it's screaming.
That still takes a little while.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous on every single measure and level. It's just, and the smile it puts on your face.
I know. I gotta say, AMG is the brand that is making the most character out of luxury vehicles these days. There are a lot of cheaper cars, Shelby Mustangs, Veloster N, certain cars that show a lot of character. It shows that the designers and the developers and engineers were allowed to have fun while making the car. But in the luxury sphere, I mean, BMW takes itself way too seriously. The powertrains are excellent, but they're so smooth and they're so well engineered that they've kind of forgotten to have fun. And even electric vehicles, most of them are so fast and so good in that way, but they are missing some of that character. AMG still has it, and they're still putting it into their cars.
The other thing, and I noticed this when I drove the GT63 S.
Yep.
My GT63 S, it's so easy to drive fast and fun too.
It is.
It's so, like, even for a 650 horsepower engine, like, you feel, it gives you confidence. And it always puts a smile on your face. It never fails to have fun.
And on top of that, it does a good job at being fun, even at lower speeds. Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's super fun to go really fast and do the launch control. But even when you're kind of just putzing around, I mean, woo.
What the hell are you doing?
Okay.
Oh, I dropped my burger.
But even at normal speeds, this thing still manages to be fun, have fun, make sounds.
Watch out.
Make sounds that are exciting and visceral, even when you're just putzing along. I mean, we've got it in quiet exhaust mode right now, comfort, and still leaning on the throttle, the side exit pipes just create this rumble.
Let's turn it on to loud. Let's see what happens.
Pretty much no difference. A little bit, but it's about the same. It really is. Let's go back into Sport Plus. Pretty much the two modes I go back and forth from are Comfort and Sport Plus. I don't know what really having Sport mode. I don't know what that's worth.
Get that exhaust. Just think of if you went up to a drum in a band room with two drumsticks and just went. That's what it sounds like, and that's what it feels like. It's just.
That's a good point. Is it's not only just the sound, but you feel it in the cabin. There's a vibration. There's just a very subtle pops, but it's mostly just this guttural rumble. Even just leaning on it here. And then it does that like roar.
Yeah.
This is the rumble.
Snarl.
And then the roar.
Yeah.
So obviously we got to get it out of the way. This car doesn't drive well. It's a big box. When you're doing 70 on the highway, it's getting about 15 miles to the gallon. You can hear the wind, even though you got double insulated glass and a bunch of different noise-saving features. There's no getting around what this car is. It does take the bumps remarkably well, especially if you put the suspension in comfort. It takes them pretty well for what it is, but it's no GLS, it's no S-Class, there's no getting around that. And for the price, I mean, this is one of the worst driving cars you can buy. But people don't buy this to be a good driver, they buy it to be a status symbol.
Not only that, but I would say it's probably one of the most fun cars to drive.
In some ways, it's definitely fun for short bursts. I spent about 3 hours in the seat the other night, and it wasn't that I was sick of it, I was just like, okay, like, it gets kind of tedious driving on the highway because it's constantly wandering around. It still drives much, much better than the previous generation, up to 2018. And it is fun when you're taken away from corners like that and stuff. You got all this torque and power. But it's kind of like a very luxurious Jeep Wrangler. It's a little wandery, it's loud. You feel a good amount of the bumps. But that engine does make up for a lot of it.
Like, I have not stopped smiling this entire time. It's just so... the noise and just the stupidity of it all. Like, this car has no reason to exist.
Right.
What? Like, you cannot buy this with a rational mindset.
Yep.
You only buy this because you want it.
Yep.
And that's what's cool about it. And that's the only reason why Mercedes makes it.
Yeah, it's one of those cars that I appreciate that they went like 120%, because some manufacturers build like kind of stupid cars, and at that point they're just stupid. It's like they're not crazy enough to be bonkers and justify spending a lot of money on them. So it's kind of like, why did you even bother? But Mercedes kept this all the way 120% crazy, and that in and of itself is a reason to buy it. There's nothing else like it. Until Jeep puts the Hellcat motor in a Wrangler, then all you've got is this.
What about the Durango Hellcat? Because that's more luxury and it's got some more practicality, but the feeling, you know, just the loud exhaust, the big motor.
I think you're right. I think that's probably the closest vehicle to this, and I do get a very similar feeling in the Durango that I do to this. I think the big difference is just this interior that is beautiful. I mean, everything's very premium. The Burmester sound system's very good. The Durango does drive a little easier. I mean, it's very easy to drive the Durango. This is a bit of work. I mean, when I launch with this, it's kind of ponderous. You got to really be careful when you're launching this thing. It's not just a snooze fest.
They're also two completely different cars, though. We're not in any way comparing them.
Right, no.
Just in terms of how they make you feel, though.
Yes, and for someone who money is no object and they want the fastest SUV they can buy, they would be looking at this. It could possibly this. I mean, arguably a GLS 63, which you and I have also had the privilege
to... Or a Jeep Trackhawk.
Right.
Or a Durango Hellcat.
But like the GLS 63, which you and I have both had the privilege to be in as well, That has the same motor and same powertrain. It feels less crazy, but also feels, I would argue, like more of a premium product.
Yeah.
This feels more just like, I mean, everything about it is like, wow. And you have to be okay with that image. I mean, there's no sort of subtlety. At least a Durango SRT Hellcat,
Yeah.
there's a level of like, if you wanted to kind of be a sleeper, you can. There's 0% sleeping with this car. It's look at me all the time.
There's no way you could ever hide this thing.
No. Especially not in this bright red color, which we'll see when we get out here in just a moment. Other than that, everything inside, as we mentioned, very premium. My biggest complaint is the infotainment system. This isn't the newest iteration of the Mercedes MBUX line, and it's not the most intuitive of the luxury infotainment systems to use. This combination between the rotary knob and the trackpad, things are a little bit too slow to react. This is a perfect place to rest your hand, and it often presses the touchpad and messes with the system. So it would be nice if Mercedes could update the infotainment system in here, make it a little bit more on par with their newest vehicles. Other than that, there's very little to complain about. You've got power points, you've got places to store things. It kind of feels off-roady and ruggedish, but at the same time luxurious in here. The ambient lighting is perfect. Mercedes does the best ambient lighting on the market.
You hear the fan running.
Oh yeah, this thing needs lots of cooling. Shut her down, pop out, and take a look. Listen to the door locks. I mean, it sounds like a gun latching into place.
Bolt action.
Yep. And these doors, you do really have to slam them to get them closed properly. They're not luxurious.
These are the most pointless running boards.
I don't know. I've actually used them to get in and out of it.
Make it in. I guess getting in there a little useful, but getting out, it's just...
Yeah, getting out, you pretty much just need to step over them. Oh, look at this. I haven't noticed that. Oh, it's kind of like a Jeep Rubicon label, but Schuckle proved. This is Jupiter red, the paint, and yeah, it's pretty much just stare at me red. I think it's the same color we had the GT63S in. Big bull bar to push lesser people out of your way when you need to get there. And it's just a
so big, so look at me.
Yep. Yeah, it's a status symbol, that is for sure. You got the big old spare tire back here. Pretty usable trunk, honestly. Big subwoofer. If you want to see more on the Burmester audio system, check the link in the description for our dedicated review. This thing is kind of a caricature of itself, but yet it's also like respected at the same time. And there aren't too many cars that are like that could be both stupid and cool all at once. The rear seat, you have heated seats back here in this model. Pretty comfortable. The seats have a nice recline, decent amount of room, obviously a ton of headroom. Knee room is good. You have some rear zone climate control, their own air vents, flip down armrest with some cup holders, good grip.
Look how exposed the latch is right here.
Oh, I know.
It's just like,
yeah.
They just stuck it on there, bolted it in, and that's it.
Yeah. Oh, it's so utilitarian, but yet so luxurious all at the same time.
It's just...
And you can, it makes sense why it sounds that way.
Yeah.
No one's busting open these doors unless they've got pretty much a gun.
And it's not gonna break.
Right. Take a look at this handcrafted AMG motor. Fans will be running in there for a little while, cooling this thing down. Right there, thank you. What is that? Timo Beck? Hard to tell.
Thank you, German guy.
Yes. Good amount of plastic covering it up there, but that 4-liter V8.
It's just like shoved in there. There's so much in there. You can't, like, how does this thing breathe?
Fans. You can hear them going right now.
Fans and turbos.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you so much to Mercedes for letting us spend some time in this. Nice little Christmas treat. Thanks to Nathan for coming along. And thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on. you.